Okay, welcome to the second to last episode, Financial Freedom Series. Here we go. Brief disclaimer, you've seen this before. This is just my personal opinions. All right, so this whole episode is now about, okay, we've started investing. Ideally, we are in index funds, and we'll review that in one sec. Now, how do we stay in? I made it look simple. I showed you that you can generate tremendous wealth and, go where most of you would want to go and being financially independent and having, more money than probably you would have expected. But how do you get there in that 10, 20, 30 year in between time? So just a brief refresher, index funds, what are they? Well, they're a combination of all the largest and best companies within the index. And in our particular situation, it's a combination of the US index and the international index. Hopefully you've done some research on that. You've looked that up. Don't just take my word for it. Make sure you understand exactly what it is you're buying so that over the course of time, you learn to deal with the volatility, the ups and downs associated with those companies. But with that being said, you own the best companies in the world. So it's not a foolproof strategy. The biggest concern with the strategy is you. It depends on how you can deal with the changes in the price over the course of your life. As you get older, you're going to find maybe you have more money, but there's also going to be more change in the price. Well, how do you deal with that? So my first recommendation to you, and really if you're watching still this episode, you're probably a smart person who understands that there's value in thinking long term, okay? And you need to use this skill consistently as an investor, especially an investor in stocks or index funds, because if you can't play the long game, then you're not going to be able to make a lot of money, okay? So first thought as you're entering this process is going, okay, investing versus speculating. What's the difference? Well, investing is you buying and owning the best companies and sleeping well knowing these are the best companies. The best companies fail, the whole world's going down. And I got bigger problems than that, okay? Besides worrying about my money being lost. So that is my recommendation, is to be an investor. The alternative is a speculator. And I think you probably, as a high school student, or maybe a person if you don't invest very much, probably know people who are more interested in speculating, which is the price is this right now. I think it's going to go up and then I'm going to sell it then. That's not what I'm advocating. I'm advocating you're buying the best companies. You're holding the best companies. They're paying you. They're growing over years. And it's a slow, steady drip. It's not a quick thing. This is not a quick get rich quick scheme. This is a slow, patient, methodical, tried and true approach to becoming wealthy. So you need to be able to keep that long-term perspective as you're going through the process. The other thing is canceling out the noise. You see here on the bottom left a article title. It's an incredibly common article title, and you come to realize, and I've come to realize, that the news does not want you to be wealthy. The news wants you to pay attention to the news. So what is the news going to try to do for you? They're going to try to evoke an emotional response. And one of the main emotional responses that they have learned that the human behavior will respond to is fear. Okay? So if you want to be afraid of losing your money year in, year out, day in, day out, then watch financial news every day. And you're more than likely going to freak out. And the more money you have, the more you're going to have to freak out about. So the earlier you realize that the news is your enemy and that the best thing for you is to go back to the logical, basic questions you can ask, which one of the questions I ask is, what do I own? If you look at the most highest held companies in a common retirement index fund, target date fund, or index fund, you'll see those are them right there for US. Look at those companies. Do you think that those companies are going to tailwind spin into the ground and go to zero? No, they're not. Okay, if that happens, somebody will replace them, but these are the best companies in the world you own. And that's what I ask myself when things are going bad. Do I have anything to worry about? No, you don't. Okay, so don't listen to the noise or all the concern about the market. if you're really good, you'll learn to buy more in the down times and build your confidence in knowing that the value is better. Buy low, sell high. But that's for you to learn about as you go in your life. On that note, there's a term and a idea that was coined by Warren Buffett's mentor, a guy named Ben Graham, who always referred to Mr. Market. And if we're looking at this chart here on the right, you'll see that Mr. Market, in his reference to this, is, as you see in the quote, an imaginary person who is a drunken psycho. Some days he's enthused, some days he's depressed. The point being is the market and the perception of the market goes up and down. It doesn't always accurately reflect the exact price, but over the long term, it will yield more accurate results. But in the near term, you're going to see overpriced markets and underpriced markets. If you learn to bring an even keel, balanced, detached approach to the process, not watching the price every day, not looking at your amounts every day, just continuing to pay yourself first, invest in the process, focus on your habits, then you'll learn to have a level of detachment from this money that's growing and being generated in your accounts and in your portfolio. That has been a proven recipe to being able to stay in the market and realize the gains that all of you want to realize. So don't get caught up in the media hype. Don't get caught up in the highs and lows. They're going to tell you every day the market hit an all-time high, the market dropped this, the market did that. You own the best companies in the world. You're not worried about the perceptions of the market day in, day out. Stay the course, relax, and enjoy. So on that note, enjoying the journey. Well, am I telling you that you should never be able to spend your money? You should just generate millions of dollars and never touch it? That's not what I'm telling you, because I know that hell, what if you get cancer when you're 30, 40 years old and you haven't done anything with any of your money, and now you've been holding back, waiting till you're older? I don't want you to think that that's what I'm saying. A concession that I've learned to make is maybe spending my amount in dividends each year as a concession. So what does that mean? I put up here at a 30-day SEC yield that is showing on the S&P 500 right now, the index, that it's yielding a 1.5% dividend. So if you have $100,000, that's a $1,500 a year, call it small allowance, that you can spend on whatever you think is fun that you probably wouldn't spend on normally. So for me and my wife, that's usually going to be vacations, going out to dinner, golf for me. So the more money you accumulate, the more you allot yourself to spend on fun, enjoyable, exciting things that you're not trying to delay into the future. It's kind of my way of going, I'm enjoying some part of this wealth accumulation now, and the more that it accumulates, the more I get to enjoy it. What does that look like in terms of using that money? Well, I don't take it out of my account. I let it reinvest in my account. Instead, I pay myself less from my paycheck and spend some of that on the golf, the vacation, etc. That's how I finagle that. Instead of taking it out, I just won't put the additional amount in based on the amount I wanted to spend for that year. And the more your portfolio grows, the larger that amount is going to become based on the percentage of the yield. So think about what I just said. If that made any sense, maybe listen to it again in the future. As you've kind of looked at portfolios, you'll start to understand kind of more of what I'm advocating. And if you want, shoot me a question or come by my room or put a question in the chat down there, and I'll try to address it. So one more thing I wanted you to meditate upon before we're done with this little episode. So something I learned from a Tony Robbins book is the 4% retirement rule. Basically what that's saying is, if you can accumulate an amount of money that allows for you to spend 4% of your portfolio based on your annual expenses, then you can basically retire. It's not completely foolproof, but in normal market scenarios, pretty much, let's say theoretically in our scenario down here, if I've got, what does it have, $2 million, and I'm withdrawing 84, which is just over 4%, 4% would be 80,000, then that 4% is only going to take less than the growth rate, which it assumes here is 5%. So what that's going to allow for your portfolio to do is to account for some level of inflation, grow beyond the amount that you're withdrawing, and you can basically continue to withdraw 4% from it in perpetuity forever. So if you can reach an account amount, like in this scenario it's 2 million, if you only spend 80,000 a year and you account for inflation each year, it's going to grow a small amount, then you should basically be able to retire and withdraw that amount each year, and your portfolio is still going to grow enough each continuing year for you to live until you want to retire. So if you want to kind of have a long-term goal on going, okay, I'm okay with spending 100,000 a year, okay, then I need to have around 3 million a year based on the 4% rate to be able to retire. So that can give you kind of a goal or an idea of going, oh, okay, a long-term perspective goal. And you don't have to retire. That's not the end game for me and many others. I think it's just letting you know that, hey, if I wanted to retire at this point, if I need to switch jobs, if I want to do something else, I've already got an amount where at 4% pull rate per year, I can retire based on this amount. So something to think about as you're going through the process. My last little piece for you is just stay the course once you get into it. Focus on the things we talked about. Read some behavioral investing books. That's what I've done, and that's where I've gotten the lion's share of the information I just shared with you. So don't take my word for it. Look up some stuff. Educate yourself on investing and enjoy it along the way. Next episode will be about giving, and I don't want this whole thing to just be exclusively about accumulating. So the next episode we'll talk some about giving, the gifts that come with accumulating wealth, and the things you can do for others, and the fulfillment and happiness that you can help others achieve along the way. Hope you enjoyed it.